Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Interval, a musical theatre podcast with me, Jess,
And me, Tyler.
where we'll be discussing all things musical and all things theatre. Enjoy!
Welcome back to The Interval, a musical theatre podcast. Today, I'm going to be showing Jess the musical Next Normal, which is one of my favourite musicals, but she's never seen it.
Nope, never.
I'm really, really excited because, similar to Epic, I think I've been telling you about this show for quite a long time.
A very long time. It's the first time I'd ever... It makes me sound like a really fake musical theatre fan, but it's the first time I'd ever heard of the musical when you started speaking about it. So, I'm going in that blind. And I've purposefully avoided everything. The only thing I know is that Jack Wolfe is in it because Tyler doesn't stop talking about it.
That surprises me because Next Normal was a big deal when it premiered on Broadway, but it has taken a long time. It took a long time to come over to the UK. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a summary of what this musical is about. I say a little bit, and I'm looking at 5 paragraphs. Next Normal is a rock musical that was created by writer Brian Yorkie and composer Tom Kitt. It centers around a mother called Diana Goodman who struggles with bipolar disorder, and it's all about how her mental health impact both her and the rest of her family members. Next Normal opened on Broadway in 2009. This was after it had an off-Broadway run and opened with a number of workshop performances. It starred Alice Ripley as Diana, J. Robert Spencer as her husband Dan, Jennifer Damiano as their daughter Natalie, and apparently my mortal enemy Aaron Tveit as their son Gabe. Next Normal was nominated for 11 Tony Awards in 2009. It took home 3 wins, 1 for Best Original Score, 1 for Best Orchestration, and Alice Ripley won the Tony for Best Performance by a Leading Actress. It also won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, and it was only the 8th musical in history to do that. It closed on Broadway after over 700 performances in 2011. Fast forward to 2022, and over in the UK, we finally got the news that Next Normal will be coming over to London for an off-West End premiere at the Donmar Warehouse. This would be in a brand new production, so sort of new staging and direction compared to the original, directed by Michael Longhurst. To put this in perspective, we got Next Normal in the UK 15 years after it opened on Broadway. That is how long it took this musical to come over here. So the off-West End run, it ran from August to October of 2023, and it starred Casey Levy as Diana. Casey Levy's been in a lot of stuff. You might know her for originating the role of Elsa in Frozen on Broadway, though, among many other things. It also starred Jamie Parker, who originated the role of Harry Potter in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child when that opened in the West End. Eleanor Worthington Cox played Natalie. Eleanor was one of the original West End Matildas when that opened in 2012, which I think is quite delightful.
Aww.
And Jack Wolfe, who was probably best known for starring as Wylan in the Netflix series Shadow and Bone, played Gabe in the West End. Finally, the cast was rounded out with Jack Officier, who played Henry, and Trevor Dion Nicholas, who played Dr. Fine and Dr. Madden. In November of 2023, it was announced that the production would be transferring to the West End with the full company for a run in 2024. It had a limited 14-week engagement at the Wyndham's Theatre, where it ran from June to September, and that's primarily the version of Next Normal we're going to be talking about today, because that's the version of the show that I saw. I got to see the final matinee performance, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen on stage.
There's a lot of pressure for me to like it, I've got to say.
So now what I need to do is ask you what you think might happen in Next Normal, and if you think you're going to like it. I have some song titles I can give you.
Yeah, chuck me some songs and I'll see. I've got a brief idea.
Probably one of the best known songs from the show is a song called I'm Alive.
I have to confess, I have heard that one. I heard Jack Wolfe singing it in 54 Below. Okay, so that's sung by The Sun. That's rolled off the tongue, that one. That was nice. Give me some more.
There's also a song called Superboy and the Invisible Girl.
Who sings that?
That's sung by Natalie, the daughter.
So I'm thinking, right, Diana has 2 kids. I think Diana has a big old mental health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the kids are like struggling to deal with that. I think there's a point in which the son is like there's a lot more attention on the son than there is the daughter, hence the Invisible Girl
Mm-hmm.
song. I think it's kind of I think the story is about like a family that's broken and them all kind of coming together to fix each other and themselves. I think it's a story about love and the love that a family can bring and how they help each other deal with their mental health. And it's just them trying to be anything next to normal. And they'll say it in the show. They'll be like, "Oh, I wish we were normal." And then one of the characters will be like, "No, but we're next to normal."
That is scarily close to one of the lyrics, I'm not gonna lie.
Is it actually? Well, there you go. Jazzetha Christie coming in. Am I close to the plot?
I think you're as close as you can be without you haven't guessed. If anyone listening isn't aware, there is a twist in this show.
Okay.
You're pretty much as close as you can get without having worked out the twist.
Out of 10, because you rated Epic out of 10 before we started, I think I'm going for a 7 or an 8. If I'm Alive has anything to do with it, I think it's going to be really, really good. I'm giving it a 7 because, like, is this going to make me cry so much that I don't know what's going on anymore?
That's possible.
But
That's possible.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching it and listening to it.
So, we're going to be back in a couple of minutes and we're going to be talking all about Next Normal, and Jess is going to tell me what she thought of it.
Hopefully I like it, otherwise this podcast won't go on for very much longer. We would have fallen out.
Yeah.
We're back. I have seen Next to Normal. I have cried. I have laughed. I have cried again and again and again. We are now 2 days in the future, so yes, this is proof time travel is real and nothing is the same. It was heartbreaking, I'm not gonna lie, but it was very, very good. But before we go into that, Tyler's gonna give you a list of some trigger warnings just in case you want to watch it.
Next Normal is quite heavy, so here's a list of topics that are covered within the show that you may wish to avoid. Grief, particularly the loss of a child, depression, anxiety, attempted suicide, drug abuse, and shock therapy. Jess, you've seen Next Normal now. You've cried a lot.
I have. Mm-hmm.
What did you think of it? And what would you rate it out of 10?
If we could go over 10, it would be an 11, but it's like a very confident 10. I mean, I can see why it's one of your favourite musicals at this point. It was fantastic. We specifically said before we watched it, he hadn't told me anything about it. He was like, I'm not even going to tell you the trigger warnings, because obviously it spoils quite a bit.
Just to jump in here, I did offer.
I didn't know the trigger warnings, but you had run them past me before. Did not see any of it happening. I mean, you can hear at the beginning of this podcast that I'm like, oh, it's about an abnormal family. You know, there's definitely some kind of mental health going on there. Spoilers if you're watching it or want to watch it or listen to it. Did I think the kid was dead? Absolutely not. It was very good. 10 out of 10. There was parts where my jaw was like not even on the floor, it was in another room. I understand Tyler's Jack Wolfe obsession now, and I fear I may be in the same boat. That man can sing.
While we're on Jack, I will be jumping in.
It's like Beetlejuice. You mentioned Jack 3 times and Tyler appears. We'll go into more detail about it in a minute. But I'm Alive. That was the song that I was like looking forward to. That's the song that you know he sung it at West End Live in 2024. It's the song of Next to Normal, in my opinion. He opened his mouth and I was like, I'm done. I'm out. I don't know what to do with myself right now, because this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. In the most simple costume in the world. His hair's all messy in front, so you can't see his eyes, but it's this really kind of malicious look. With a microphone, no like head mic. I think it's because he's obviously not alive and part of the cast. He needs a different microphone because he's from a different location, a different realm, things like that. He's got a separate microphone and it's so rocky and heavy, and he's like bouncing around everywhere and he's singing in front of people's faces, and it's just brilliant. The staging of that song is fantastic.
It's the way that he's singing and there's slight gaps in the song, and he uses those moments to hold up the microphone to the other characters, and it's so clever. I love it. Yes! I love it so much.
Oh, yes. As soon as I saw him with the microphone, and like, yeah, it was the dad and Natalie were on opposite sides of the stage, and he was running between the two. I loved that. so much. I'd love to know whether it was choreographed or whether that's something that he did spontaneously and they put it in, because it's so clever and they're not reacting at all to him being there, which is a testament to how fantastic these actors
If
are.
that was me.
You die. We know that. You wouldn't be able to be on stage with Jack Wolfe. You would absolutely pass out. And to be honest, now, if I was on stage with Jack Wolfe and he started busting out I'm Alive, I wouldn't be alive. I think I'd die.
None of us would be alive. So I know you had moments where you gasped, right?
I gasped 3 times, 3 separate times in this musical, very loudly. And I think so loudly that the audience that I could have been with would have been really mad at me. If I was in an audience, I would have gasped so loudly. I think Jack Wolfe himself would have told me to shut up. And I would have cried more than I did. You got to guess where I gasped, Tyler, because I feel like you know one of them, obviously, but I'm interested to see if you know the other two.
I think I've got 2 of them because I think they're the exact same moments that I gasped at when I saw it. I'm going to say the first one was the reveal that Gabe is not alive.
If there was a word stronger than gasp, it would be that. To say I didn't expect it would be an understatement. In my notes, I made notes, everyone. Look, I take this very seriously, as you can tell. The first line I wrote was, Mum's vulnerable. Then, oh, Mum's fully hiding something. Someone's dying. The mum for sure.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's a scene at the beginning where she's making sandwiches, and then she starts making the sandwiches on the floor, and it gets a little bit manic.
Staging, by the way, on a Revolve, perfect. I'm obsessed.
We love a Revolve here at the Interval Podcast. If you've listened to our Traitors episode, you know we love a Revolve.
Have you worked out now that this is where I got my Revolve roundtable inspiration from?
Yeah, I fully do. But, like, she's making sandwiches on the floor and she goes... She has an episode, I think is the best way of saying it. As soon as I saw that, I thought, okay, Tyler said this is heavy. I know this is heavy. She kills herself. And then, you know, she comes out with the birthday cake and Henry's like, oh, whose birthday is it? And the silence. Tyler, the silence. My little blonde ass didn't know. I was like, why is everyone quiet? What's going on? In the very legal slime tutorial I was watching, there's a moment just before the scene where Gabe, who is Jack Wolfe, he like says goodbye to the mum and leaves the stage. I didn't see that in my first watch of it. So I was like, he's just disappeared. She said he's dead. He's not there anymore. What is happening? I did not see it coming at all. There was not an inkling in my brain that was happening.
I love that reveal for what it is and what it does for the rest of the show, but I love going back and knowing that reveal. And because you go back, Gabe's not interacting with anyone apart from
none of
Diana.
them.
There's a moment in Just Another Day, which is the opening song, where he comes down the stairs after Natalie's come downstairs and he says like, oh, good morning, sunshine, and nothing.
Another one that I saw, I rewatched a little bit of it today. Right at the beginning, he greets the mum, like it's like 4 a.m, he greets the mum. Or he has to go around the back because the dad's coming down from the bedroom. And he's like, I don't get why he hates me. Gabe says, I don't get why he hates me. I didn't pick up on that until I watched it again. But he hates him because he's taking his wife away. Like, it's not because it's his son, it's because he's not there and he's effectively destroying his wife.
I also have a note about like the very beginning scene. You go in the theatre and there's no curtain, so you know you sit down and you can see the full set. So I'm looking at the set and I'm trying to work out like, okay, what's what, and there's this armchair and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's the chair she's going to be sitting in when she goes to the doctor's. Lights go down for it to start, like lights go up, they have the little like prelude music, chair swivels, Casey Levy's like in the chair. I lost my mind of it. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
So she was literally on the stage the whole time?
Not the whole time, because you can see the chair.
Oh, like in the blackout,
But in the blackout,
cool.
she obviously runs on, swivels the chair backwards, sits on it, and then as like the music lifts, she spins like perfectly in time with it.
Yeah, that was the first time I gasped. That was the original question we were on. What do you think the second one is?
I'm pretty certain on one of the other times. Diana seeing Gabe is clearly something that happens and that she goes to see doctors for and takes medication for. So up until this point in the show, they don't think she's seeing him at the moment, and then they realise they are, and she's spiralling, and Dan suggests we can go to another doctor. Ultimately, towards the very end of Act 1, the doctor suggests ECT, which is electroshock therapy. Dan signs the signature so she can have the therapy, and she does, and then you find out that it causes really bad problems with memory, and you find this out because she leaves the hospital, after recovering from her treatment. She goes home, Natalie's in the house, and she's saying like, oh, I'm really glad you're back, and she pauses and goes, who are you again? And then my heart shattered.
My heart fell through my feet.
Was that your second gasp?
No, that was my third. Because they build up from the beginning. There's a song, Superboy and the Invisible Girl. The whole song is about the fact that she feels invisible and that she's not seen by her parents.
She's completely overshadowed by this boy who's not there and who's never been there because Natalie's never known him.
Exactly.
And Diana even admits later, and she doesn't actually bring herself to finish the sentence, but she says, we had Natalie too. And it's really clear what they're implying. And then she says, I know that she knows, which is just even worse.
All of that happens before she comes in and says to Natalie, who are you? She doesn't know her daughter, and it absolutely crumbled me. Eleanor Worthington Cox, she plays Natalie so well. In the slime tutorial I was watching, they zoom in on her face when this happens. I could feel her heart break. She was fantastic, but it absolutely broke me. That was a very loud gasp as well. You said you might know my second gasp.
There is a moment in the show, it's really sort of delicately done.
Isn't it just?
Like the build up to it is so delicate.
I didn't see it coming again. I know that you've got it correct already.
I think again it comes from Diana going to the doctor again, and he suggests maybe you should sort through your son's things, like his baby things. And Diana's sorting through a box of baby things. There's like a little baby grow and a little toy car, and while she's sorting through them, she sings a song called I Dreamed a Dance. They decided to stage it where Gabe, he walks downstairs with his backpack and another bag, and it's like he's running away from home because she's making the effort to push his memory out of her mind. Like, that's the way they decided to stage it. And then this song goes into a Gabe song called There Is a World, and he's singing to her and saying like that there is somewhere we can be together, like you don't have to get rid of me. As he's singing this, she gets up and she goes to him, and at the very end of the song he sort of takes her hand and they walk off stage. The box of baby things has revolved round to the back while this song is happening, and as the song is getting sort of to the climax of the song where they walk off together, it's come back around and there's blood underneath the box. And then straight after the song, you get confirmation from the doctor that while she was sorting through his things, Diana had slit her wrist and attempted to take her own life. And I think that was your second gasp.
You're absolutely correct. The thing is, though, that I think is important in this scenario is in the pro shot that I watched, the person filming it does not have the box in shot while the doctor's reading out what's happening. So I didn't see the blood. He revealed it to me instead of the stage revealing it to me. There's a point in which they're both hugging behind like the sink. You can see the blood. If there's one thing about Next to Normal that I loved, it's the fact that you don't see any of it coming. At the beginning you think, oh yeah, the twist is that the son's dead, and I didn't see that coming. And then it goes again, and it goes again, and it just keeps punching you. It's a tough watch, but it's beautiful.
You get one more right near the end.
Is it when she leaves him?
Yeah.
The heartbreak from Dan. Because there's a moment in that where Dan and Gabe are sitting on like opposite sides. They're leant up against opposite sides of the counter, kind of in heartbreak, as she's left both of them behind. And it's just beautiful. It absolutely sent me, because after that, there's a bit where Gabe comes up over the counter and he makes it very real that Dan now sees him, and that it's almost like he's been transferred onto someone else. And the manipulation, there's a sinister design in the way that Jack Wolfe kind of plays that character at the end. It just blew my mind at how you kind of feel bad for Gabe.
He's so sweet, and
yeah,
when you get that twist, it's like it flips and it's like, oh, actually this is quite malicious.
At the end as well, like, he almost looks like a ghost. You can actually see it in his eyes. There's like darkness behind his eyes, and he's hugging Dan, but he's almost strangling him at the same time. There's like it's an unwanted embrace. The way he's singing as well, and the way the hair's like dangling over his eyes, it's really malicious. And by the end you sort of think, I don't even think it was Diana. I feel like there's this malicious spirit that's possessing them at this point. Give Jack Wolfe all of the awards, please and thank you. Give Next to Normal all the awards.
On your point there, I think there's a really interesting moment because Diana's had the ECT and that's caused her to forget so much, she doesn't remember Gabe. So there's about half an hour of the show. Jack Wolfe doesn't come on stage for about half an hour because she doesn't remember that she has a son. She finds his music box and she opens it. It's like she has a memory, but she doesn't know what the memory is. And because it's so, like, it's still foggy and she's still trying to find it, you get this really clever staging where, so she's sitting, like, on the center of the stage at the bottom, and then on one of the platforms, like the higher bit of the stage, you just get a silhouette of Gabe, like, pressing against
Yes, I
he's
know
like pressing
exactly what
against the
part you
screen,
mean.
and it's just a complete silhouette, and it's just so clever.
Tyler, you'll be so proud of me because in my notes it says 1 hour 30 silhouette of Jack with like loads of love hearts. It was so clever, and there's a bit as well that reminds me when she's about to get the shock therapy. Just before that, and he's like singing almost at her like bedroom door, trying to tell her to not do it. Like, they're gonna take me away from you. If I say it feels very JD coded, you know what I mean, right? Where he's singing I Was Meant to Be Yours.
Yeah.
It was so, the way that they've staged this and the lighting and the music is absolutely top notch.
I haven't even gotten on to like how much they do with that kitchen counter.
I've never seen a kitchen counter being used for more.
Genuinely, if you think that's me being sarcastic, it's not. The way they utilize this tiny bit of counter do so much.
The thing's like a hospital bed at one
At
point.
the start of the second act, the lights come back up and it's been sort of turned the other way, and Diana's lying on it as a hospital bed.
They use it as well as like a height thing, don't they? As like a hierarchy. Gabe like climbs over it and like crawls over it to be higher than people and over people, and it's so good.
While we're talking about that second act as well, one of my favourite lines is during the first song of the second act, Diana's getting her ECT. Like, that is a song. And at the same time, Natalie is being just sort of fallen into quite self-destructive habits. Like, she's taking pills and she's partying every night, and Henry's trying to kind of make sure she's okay. And one of my favourite lines in the show is when, so Diana's singing the song and Natalie kind of interrupts, and Diana like looks up at her because Natalie and Henry are staged above, like where Diana's lying on the hospital bed, and she just goes, "Natalie, what are you doing in my electricity?" And Natalie just goes, "Oh, it always has to be about you, doesn't it?"
Oh my god, yeah, I remember that. But that's the thing that I love the most about Next to Normal, and I remember messaging you when I was watching it. You can't stop laughing.
This show is so funny. It's such a testament to the writing and obviously the performances that they can keep it as funny as it is.
I'd already written down quotes of lines that I was, as soon as they were said, I was like, this is my favourite thing.
I'm really excited to hear some of your favourite lines.
Before the 30, because I wrote 30 minutes lighting with loads of love hearts, which is when you first get a glimpse inside her head and the lighting looks all rock and psychedelic. Do you know what it's like to die alive? What a line.
The other lyric that gets me in that is, I think it's in the second verse, she says, "Do you read obituaries and feel jealous of the dead?" And it's, oh my god.
The other one I had was, it's after I've written Dr. Madden equals icon.
Oh, isn't he just?
The line I wrote down is, lots of people who think they're happy haven't thought about it enough. One of the reasons I wrote it down is because it kind of sums up the subject matter of the whole show. They don't miss beats in the triggering aspects. They don't sugarcoat anything, because she could have just gone, I don't remember. But no, she's got these kind of lines. I've never been happy. That's just stupid. Like, being happy is stupid, and you just haven't thought about it enough. It's so brutal. My last one, I guess it's actually perfect, because it's completely different in it's funny, as opposed to the heartbreaking ones that I just said.
Is it "But You're Not a Scary Rock Star" anymore?
No, I did love that. I did think that was hilarious. But no, it's not happiness, it's Henry.
Yes!
Oh, that was so cute! I love Henry so much. Please, can we talk about Henry for a little bit?
He is the sweetest boy. I love Henry and Natalie. They get a little duet that's kind of rephrased about 3 times, don't they? And the song's called "Perfect for You." The first time you hear it, it's Henry trying to be like, "I could be perfect for you, you know, we could be together." And Natalie's like,
"Get out. Who are you?" I have 7 minutes left of this recording room, please leave me alone.
And then the second time it's after they've gotten together, and the third time you hear it is after it's towards like the very end of the show, and it feels like it's Natalie being as honest as she could possibly be, because she's saying, this is what's happened to my mum, what if this happens to me, and what if I become your wife, and what if I go insane, you know, I throw shit down the stairs and I try and drown in the bath and things, and he basically just says like, it doesn't matter because, you know, I think you're perfect. And it's just really cute.
The last one that they sing as well, the fact that they're singing it as a duet with Diana and Dan was so lovely.
Yeah.
One of the best things, I'm saying one of the best things about Next to Normal, like I have 10. I do. I have about 20. I have as many times as Tyler Sim Wicked, which goes up every time I mention it. There's our first Wicked reference of the session. The most impressive things about Next to Normal is the duets they have. There is very, very few songs where one of the characters is singing and not multiple. Even at the beginning, the whole family is singing. They have these shared experiences. Whenever they need to represent that, they're both singing the same thing. Diana and Natalie sing the same songs a lot, in duets a lot. They're in scenes a lot together. Henry and Dan sing duets a lot. Not many sing duets with Gabe, obviously, but it's so beautiful. I love the way they do it. You get to see the connection between them just from the way that they're singing. I haven't even said my thing about Henry. My favourite thing about Henry, Tyler, when he starts dating Natalie, from then on, for the whole time, he's wearing her scrunchie on his wrist, and it's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. It even matches when they go on the dance.
I think this is a good time to ask our favourite question. Who would you be if you're in Next Normal?
That's really tricky. They all have quite a lot of trauma.
Yeah, I will preface this by saying we can't really do our typical thing because one, this is a show with a really small company, and two, it's obviously has very heavy topics.
The one that comes into my mind, purely because equals icon is still written on my sheet. Dr. Madden, the rock star doctor, I'd want to be him. The moment that he starts singing, I was dying with laughter. What about you? Who would you be? And why would it be Gabe?
I would be coming out of the fridge in my psychopharmacologist and I, shaking the pill bottles and listing off the various symptoms. That's what I would do.
I was obsessed with that. If you watched our Traitors episode, I mentioned Company getting married today, and they do that. They're just using the pill bottles as little maracas. It's so funny, but they're singing about, she's listing all these symptoms she's getting, which is why I thought she was gonna kill herself at the beginning, because the depression kept coming up, but she's listing off that she's more depressed, or that she's tired, she's got headaches, she's more anxious, and they're just shaking maracas around in her head. You're torn constantly between this is funny and this is really not funny.
Yeah, the balance they strike is just it just feels masterful.
It is masterful.
To segue back to why I asked you that question now is because towards the end of the show, where Natalie and Henry, they've gone to the dance, balloons come onto the stage. So I'd just like everyone to remember that we couldn't be on stage during that scene because there are balloons.
I was like, I don't know where you're going with this. What's happening?
If I was in this show, I would have to convince the director to like, can you get me as far away from those balloons?
Can you make sure the
balloons
possible? Do not burst?
So they get extra points for not being scared of the balloons.
We haven't even spoken about I Miss the Mountains. When I said my jaw was in another room last time, my jaw was in another continent for this song. Oh my god. How good is she?
Seeing Casey Levy sing this live was something.
You know what annoyed me the most about this one, Tyler? She's singing this song and she's hitting these notes, and I swear to you, she looks like she might as well be on her phone. She looks so easy.
I really love the way she sings, where the air is clear and it cuts you like a knife. Like the way she says the word cuts. It's like she makes it actually like cut through in her voice.
The fact that I know exactly how that sounds and I've listened to it once. No offense to the Broadway cast, the West End version is second to none. The fact that we don't have that on Spotify should be more illegal than the slime tutorial that I used to watch it. And release that pro shot. I know we have one, and if we have a pro shot, we definitely have recording. Just put the pro shot on and take the songs. We've done it before, we can do it again. Oh, the last thing on top of the cast recording and the pro shot, I think it's very unfair it's not on anymore, because I've seen it now and now I can't go and see it live. So if you could just put it back in the West End, keep it going for about as long as Les Mis, would be awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add about Next to Normal, considering it is your favourite musical, just in case I've missed anything that you're like, how did you not spot that, you idiot?
It's just another note about the staging. Did you all guess it was going to be about the staging?
They were going, it's either Jack or the revolving stage.
The way the stage is set up, the stage at the bottom, then you've got stairs and platforms. It's split into sections. If me describing it isn't helping you, just Google the production and the stage. And so it's split into 4 sections. Those 4 sections are there to represent different parts of Diana's brain.
What? Are they actually? Oh, that would be so cool.
That's just another little detail about how clever this show is and why I love it so much.
On that briefly as well, I just want to say one of my favourite things, the way to Jess's heart is to have the band on stage. I recently saw Choir of Man. Having the band on stage is the most immersive way you can do musical theatre, in my opinion. Like, there's a bit at the beginning where she's playing the piano in one of the boxes with the band. It's so immersive. You see it and you think, oh, it's a practice band. You manage to forget they're there, but you're still able to appreciate the talent that is from this band that you wouldn't do in things like Wicked, where they're in an orchestra pit.
People can't really see you in an orchestra pit unless they lean down. I know that because I've sat in an orchestra pit before. I've sat in the orchestra pit at Wicked before.
And on that note, on Wicked, tune in next week. But no, I'm joking. Please don't leave. Tyler, what are you holding space for this week?
This week, I'm holding space for Alexander falling into the plant. It was a lovely moment, and it just made me want him to be cast in a romantic comedy.
He would be so good in that. He proper committed to the bit of that badminton session, and I respect that.
What about you?
So, keeping on the Alexander train, because we said we were in the last episode, I'm holding space for that specific moment after the death match. It's like 4 of the traitors cast are buried. It's the last coffin that they're trying to find. Alexander runs over to the coffin, but he runs with his arms outstretched like a child. And it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he looks like a toddler. And he's running into this graveyard with his arms out in his little puffer coat. That's what I'm holding space for. That very specific moment.
Alexander, if you like musical theatre and you would like to talk about it with us, we have an open invitation for you.
Absolutely. Please DM us at the Interval MT Pod on Instagram. Next week, we'll be talking about jukebox musicals, what we like, what we love, and what we hate. Tune in next Friday for more The Interval Podcast.